we've been around long enough to where we could write pages and pages of the technology we've encountered over the years, from platforms to telephony to programming languages. But the thing that hasn't really changed in our time, or the 30 years that our organization has been in this space, is it's all about driving outcomes for organizations, their customers, helping them solve challenges, and the technology, it just enables it. So as the technology changes, what we're still trying to do and trying to help companies with remains the same.
Welcome back to No Hold Time. I'm David Ariza. Eric Robison's here, as is Brian Bremer, and I have the question that'll at least get us going. And the genesis, way back to months ago in our first episode, the question about why we decided to do this was, we'd come together after conversations with customers or conversations we had at conventions or things we learned in conventions. And recently, I met a customer at a convention, and we started talking about non-work related things, right? Like this person was, had some family history, and they were trying to help, mental health support, and they're in mental health professionally now, and it helped me understand their why, right? Like this person is helping other people even though their family needed that mental health support. And so I asked myself that question. I asked myself, like, what's my why? And I know what that is, but that's how I want to start the day. Like, why are you guys in customer experience, and what gets you going about CX?
You want to start with me?
Yes.
I mentioned it before. I get really excited about the stories of the brands we work with. Mm-hmm. Whether it's building some sort of software that makes people healthier because it reminds you to show up to doctor's appointments or take your pills on time or whatever, or the stories that your clients have, David, are amazing. I'll let you talk about that too. I won't steal your thunder. The other thing that really excites me the most is I'm a consumer.
Yeah.
And I know what bad is. I also know what really good is too. And the fun part of doing what we do, I say it all the time, I love sitting in front of a room full of people with a whiteboard and a marker and say, this isn't very good, or give me a challenge and let's go figure out what makes it better.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter what the industry, what the business, it could be dog toys. There's something in there that is that can be improved on to make everyone's life better. That's the stuff that really kind of gets me going, and in this business keeps me motivated to find out what's that next thing, what's that next problem, what's that next solution, because I want to benefit from it.
Yeah.
How about you, Eric?
Well, I could just say ditto, because a lot of the same, especially around the different industries that we have the fortune to be able to support. I think at the macro level, being a consumer and having a bad customer experience, I just think about how much that weighs on you, like what it does for like the rest of your day. If you have a bad interaction, you walk away frustrated, or like they weren't listening to you, or you didn't get your issue resolved, you're thinking about that for hours after it. It just brings you down. It changes your mood. Mm-hmm. So having the ability to help companies make sure their customers don't have that experience, so they're walking away like maybe it's really simple and they forget about it, but they move on with the rest of their day. Or if they're delighted and they have a great experience, they walk away feeling great, and it actually improves the rest of their day. It improves their mindset. So I love thinking that how much we have a hand in those experiences. And like you said, just sitting down, when I first got into this industry, not being a technologist by trade, thinking, how am I going to do this? Like, I'm going to have to just, I guess I'll learn the technology. But you find out quickly, doesn't really matter. It's all about the outcomes, the solving challenges, walking through the why of why customer organizations how they want to, and what's their why to take care of their customers, is exciting. And just from my personal experience and background of being on the phones as an agent growing up, understanding what they go through, and now over the past 15 years or so, having the opportunity to help their experience as an employee, being on the front end. So not only are you helping out the organization's customers, you're also helping out their employees, and it's just really rewarding. And let's face it, I mean, customer service, customer experience, it's in our everyday life. We're constantly having some sort of experience with companies, and we just have the fortune to be able to help influence that. So it's it's what's fun. It's what brings me to work every day, and it's always new. That's the other thing, is as much as our companies are changing, we have to be there with them to help evolve. If you don't like change, this is a tough industry to be in, because it's constantly changing, whether it's the technology or how our customers' businesses are changing.
Yeah. No, my why is a little bit of what you guys, but it stems from personal experiences. So I mentioned it in other episodes. I work with healthcare companies, and I've also mentioned this before. I was my mom's caretaker towards the end of her life, and so she was going to doctor's appointments all the time. And our experience was they would give us a physical paper with what she needed to do, what medicine she needed to take, and also is in English. And my mom was primarily a Spanish speaker, right? And so that was not easy, because then I would have to sit and translate, and then not only take her to the appointments, but then care for her, right? And so finding ways to make that experience easier with, like Bremer, you talked about proactive notifications with, don't forget your appointment is tomorrow. Also, don't forget you can't eat anything after midnight, where I lost that paper, now I have to call the doctor. What are the things that I need to do? So motivating me to try to bring solutions that I know I would have appreciated in that case, and support other people, on top of the fact that, Eric, you mentioned that technology is changing so quickly, right? So being part of a company that has been doing customer experience for decades at this point is great, because I know that I can draw from people's experiences and then now fold in new technology, right? Not just, hey, let's start a CX company that is AI driven, right? It's, let's take an amazing CX company with amazing experience and fold in new technologies that helps people. And so I know that every day in the morning when I come to work, or when I sign on my computer, I'm helping someone potentially like me be there for their parent, or help people get well, things like that. Those are my whys.
You reminded me when I started here.
Where?
When?
Where? What's the name of the company you work for?
I was getting there.
Okay.
So when I started here, it was called West Interactive, because Interactive was the business unit of interacting with consumers and brands and all the basically building IVRs, more or less. Today we're called Mosaics. Interactive was really customer experience before CX was a thing.
Mm-hmm.
And so we've even added CX to the end of our title. You can't spell Mosaics without CX or AI in it. Thanks, marketing team. Hi, guys. So, it's funny and interesting to me how that evolution has happened, and to think about what the next version of CX may be in the next 5 to 10 years, right? Like, the evolution of that has been interesting. And you're right. Like, the other thing that excites me is you get out of this building and you go see the world, and you talk to brands and you go to events. there are some amazing startups out there. There are some amazing technologies out there that are pushing us to be different and pushing us to go build things different and us to go find partners to be different, because it will continue to evolve. And half of me is going, I really get excited about fixing problems and helping customers. The other half is like, I get to work on some really cool technologies too. That's a lot of it.
It is. Yeah, what's exciting is when I used to have conversations with family and friends about what I did and telling them that, if you call a number and you have to go through a phone tree, that's my company, wasn't met with a lot of excitement. It's like, oh, you do that stuff. You're that guy who keeps us from getting to a human agent. It's like, yeah, but try to explain why that's actually a benefit was a lost cause. Now, I get to talk about how, artificial intelligence, well, everybody's heard of AI now, and they want to know more about what we do. I mean, even my young son is interested in this technology. So it's a really interesting, exciting place to be right now, but it's also can be a bit confusing. You hear AI, ML, cloud. I mean, it's buzzword bingo. And when we were at CCW, customer conference, or what is it again, David?
Customer Contact Week.
Customer Contact Week. I'll remember that acronym someday. Walking around, you saw all the same words. You saw AI, ML, cloud, and I was a little confused. I'm like, well, what do they do versus what do they do? And it's to be expected. It's the hot commodity right now. We just happen to be part of that space at the moment. But Brian, we've been around long enough to where we could write pages and pages of the technology we've encountered over the years, from platforms to telephony to programming languages. But the thing that hasn't really changed in our time, or the 30 years that our organization has been in this space, is it's all about driving outcomes for organizations, their customers, helping them solve challenges, and the technology, it just enables it. So as the technology changes, what we're still trying to do and trying to help companies with remains the same. And that's so it's exciting when you know that what you do isn't a commodity. Yeah. Like, there's nothing that's going to commoditize customer service or customer experience. The technology itself will become commoditized, but what we do won't. Customer service and experience, it will always be needed.
Yeah, it's using the technology to get the task done.
Exactly.
People can misconstrue that to say you just build that or you do that, but the reality is no. We use that to accomplish all of this.
Exactly.
And change all of this.
Well, and if you think about it, if really everyone had the same exact set of technology, why isn't customer experience exactly the same no matter who you're interacting with?
Great point.
And I think it comes down to how you orchestrate it. It's an art and a science. Yep. The science is the technology, the inputs, the outputs. The art is how you put it together for the customer journey.
Right. What kind of questions you ask?
Exactly.
I agreed. That's what excites me about being.
Yeah, because you're newer in this, David. So, what do you think about all of this?
Well, that's what excites me to be part of this team. As I've talked to even friends of mine that are in the space that work for other companies those companies are newer. They're leading with the technology and the things they can do, and like you said, it's essentially the same across the board. It's the people behind the technology and the experience, in our case, decades worth of experience, now coupled with this awesome technology, which will continue to develop and new things will come out. And that's why I appreciate the partnership that I have with customers when they reach out to me and say, hey, I saw this, what do you think about it, right? Because they know we're looking as advisors at what's out there and saying, yeah, well, this will work, but only in this case, or yeah, that works for that use case. I don't think it would be good for you because you have stricter ID&V requirements and things like that. So that's what's really exciting, is experience coupled with this really quickly developing technology.
Well, and I know generative AI. It has to come up every episode, right? We have to bring it up one time, and when we're having conversations with our existing partners, with potentially new partners of ours, it's like, what do you think about this? Like, what do you think about generative AI?
Yeah.
And fortunately, again, it's just new technology, but based on the experiences we have, we can bring a point of view. We can say, generative AI in customer service may be, how do we tap into knowledge bases in a more agile, meaningful manner? So it doesn't feel as big, as scary as it is, because it's technology enabling the experience. So let's start with the experience, and what's the next 20% we can go out and help them with around automation and self-service. And now with this technology that's here, are we a step further to being able to tap into something we've always wanted to, which, again, knowledge bases.
That's a really good one, and I want to jump in on the generative AI, right? Because whatever the case may be, whatever ChatGPT, Claude, whatever it is, even having like the same, two people could have that same tool and try to come up with the same, like I could give you guys the same task. Write me a paper about the Bahamas. And the best paper is going to be, the best output is going to be whoever asks it the right questions or provides the best background information, knowing that I'm the reader, right? Like, so you guys know me, and you'll say, write a story about the Bahamas that includes maybe one day of soccer, but definitely playing a lot of music in the background. Like, you know me, you'll give it the right prompts, where that's why the people behind the technology are going to create the best outputs.
Yep.
That's what's cool. You guys could both use the same thing and have a totally different, like maybe Brian doesn't know that I really like to rollerblade, right? And you do. That was just something I made up. I haven't rollerbladed since middle school.
I'm just imagining
I'm too.
Rise on rollerblades.
I'm wearing a Bears jersey.
Right? Like, I did this for my daughter. She's super creative, and she said, I want you to help me write a book. And it was just a short story. But I prompted it with, write a children's 5-page book of a little girl who speaks English and Spanish, loves soccer and her best friend's name, and incorporate that into the story. And when she read it, she was like, this is awesome.
Yeah.
Because I knew her, I knew what she liked, and she felt comfortable. And it's the same thing, right? Like, drawing a comparison of using similar technology, but having the brains, the know-how, the experience to create outputs for our partners, because we know them and their customers.
Yeah, that's an interesting way of looking at it. Like the output, it's available. Like all the output's there. It really comes down to the input. It's the orchestration of the input, because the output is so large, there's so much that the input is really going to help define and drive the right output. Yeah.
The
like
other
that.
thing, not to get away from the technology, but I'm going to. The other thing that I really get excited about and enjoy about being here, I've been here 12 years now. I get to talk to customers and have really good relationships with people, like employees included. Like, I know employees' kids, I've seen them grow up. And I talked to a client of ours just last week. They've been a client for 30 years. Yeah. They started when we were a contact center company as West Corporation. And yeah, she's got some concerns about a couple of things that we're working on together. But it's the relationship. Like, it could be a tough conversation, but we all know on the end of the day, it's a relationship we've been working on for 12 years I've been here plus. And that's the stuff that keeps me happy here too. Like, I can go talk to her, or the next person or the employee down the cubicle or wherever. And I love the people aspect of this business, because we all drive towards a similar goal when it's all said and done, which is making things better.
You know, I always wondered why, you know, you're right, Brian, the relationships we've built over the years with a lot of our client partners, that they switch organizations, you still keep in touch, you become friends, and you're like, why does what we do drive like this close relationship? And we were working with a group of consultants years ago and wasn't familiar with our business at all. And it was just like, why is there so much urgency like within this business? And he finally figured it out. He gave me this analogy. And he said, you know, your business is a lot like the airline industry. You don't hear about anything until something goes bump in customer service.
Yep.
And then it's the biggest deal. So if we think about what we support for our client partners who are all in operations and customer service, they're the front door, they're the front line for that brand. So it's just the nature of our business is so critical to organizations. You just build that bond because there's always just urgency and change
Constant
and nimbleness.
risk and constant.
Yes, but I never heard it put that way, and it was interesting from an outsider going, you guys are just like the airlines. Like, you don't hear about them till something goes bump, and then you do. So.
Funny that we support an airline.
And we support an airline, yes, and we never want that to go bump.
Right. Well, we answered the whys, and I really appreciate it, but I'm glad that we built in the technology piece too, because I think that it's key to talk about, because it's moving quickly, and you guys have been around longer, have seen other technologies come in and out and work/not work, but the constant's been the people providing support and outcomes. We talked about inputs and outputs and doing that well. But this was really good. I learned a lot about you guys as people too. Thank you.
Why don't you close us out so I don't sneeze in the middle of it?
Allergy season.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you for coming by. We appreciate it. We have enjoy the interaction with people, the 4 or 5 people that listen and comment. Subscribe, like, keep on coming back. Throw some comments in there too. That'll help us drive more conversations that people are interested in, and maybe we take this on the road and get some customers involved. I think that would be really cool too. But thanks, and we'll catch you on the next one. I've got a question for you guys.
What's your name?
And
You ruined
you guys
it.
are jerks.